Hey, what's up YouTube? Don the Smartphone Guy coming back at you with another video, and today I'm ready to share with you my 2-week review of this device right here. This is the Xiaomi Mi Mix 2. So as I mentioned, I've had this phone now in hand for roughly around 2 weeks, and I want to talk about what I like about this device, what I think is pretty good about this device, and some things that I think could be better about it as well. So right now this phone is available at gearbest.com. I'll leave a link down in the description. It runs you anywhere from around $530 all the way up to about $730, and that depends on which capacity you want in terms of the storage. So it goes from 64 up to 256 gigs of onboard storage. Now all of those versions will have 6 gigs of RAM, which is definitely great. So let's go ahead and talk about what I really like about this device so far. So the first area that I think this phone absolutely excels is the build quality. In fact, I would say that outside of the Essential phone, this is probably the most beautiful phone you can get. And it might even be better than the Essential phone because you don't have that notch up at the top of your display. Now, this doesn't have as maybe pretty a display as some other phones. This has a HD plus display, so that's roughly the same as like 1080p. It just has more pixels up at the top, obviously because of having the 18:9 aspect ratio. But this obviously has a beautiful bezel-less display, basically, except at the bottom you can see just slight bezels around the top and on the sides, but at the bottom we have a little bit bigger chin, but overall pretty close to being bezel-less. And on the back, this is just an absolutely gorgeous back. Actually, believe it or not as bad at collecting fingerprints as you would expect. It's a ceramic back, not a glass back. So a little bit stronger, but also a little bit more breakable than like a tempered glass backing that a lot of phones have in 2017. But overall, this thing is an absolutely beautiful device, and one that I would definitely consider one of the more pretty devices you can get if that's something that you're interested in. So the second area I want to talk about, and this is a huge thumbs up for this phone, and in fact I would say that this phone probably of the 2017 flagships for me does best at, and that is battery life. Battery life for this phone, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Xiaomi here, but whatever they did, I've been getting phenomenal battery life. I'm looking at anywhere from around 6.5 hours of screen on time all the way up to like 8 hours, depending on my usage. But that is in comparison to like most of the other flagships of 2017. I can get anywhere from around 5 to 6 hours of screen on time. And I'm looking at usually around 20 to 40% battery left over at the end of a day. Whereas with the Mi Mix 2, for some reason, I'm able to get usually around 40 to 50% battery life remaining at the end of a day. So in some cases, if I was using this lightly, I could probably get anywhere from around 2 to maybe even 3 full days of usage. Obviously, that would be very light usage to get 3 days. But with moderate usage, you're probably looking at maybe a day and a half to 2 days, where if you're using it super heavy, you would easily get through a full day of battery life. And yeah, so the battery life on this phone, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's RAM management, maybe they're killing off more apps in the background. I haven't noticed that, but this phone gets phenomenal battery life either way. So that's the second area that's absolutely great. The third area that's really great about this phone is the performance. So again, this has the Snapdragon 835 processor. It also has 6 gigs of RAM, so that combination in 2017 flagship devices is just a very fluid experience. This one has, of course, social networking runs very fluidly. Watching video, playing games, all of that runs very fluidly on this device, of course, with those specs. So absolutely no problems at all with the performance. So 3 areas that it super excels would be build quality, battery life, and performance. Now let's talk about some areas that it's good at, maybe not great. So the first area would be the speakers. So this does have dual speakers. There is a small speaker right up here where the earpiece is, and then also another speaker down here at the bottom. So let's go ahead and take a listen to those speakers, and you'll kind of get an idea of what I like about it. It's not the loudest of speakers, but it is dual speakers, one front firing, one bottom firing. So let's go ahead and take a listen. All Alright, so hopefully that gave you an idea of what it sounds like. But overall, the speakers are nice. It's nice that it has dual speakers, just not the best speakers I've ever heard on a phone. One area that I also forgot to mention in terms of what's phenomenal about this phone, is the fact that it is GSM unlocked, basically internationally, worldwide. So no matter where you live in the world, as long as you're on a GSM network, you should be able to get LTE as long as that's available on your carrier. So with what I've been using it for, T-Mobile, Cricket Wireless both got perfect LTE coverage where I live in near Lansing, Michigan. So either way, you're going to be good as long as you're on a GSM network. So now let's talk about the areas where this thing is good. We already talked about the speakers. The next area would be the cameras. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the cameras on this phone now. So here's just a few shots that I took with the phone. We'll go ahead and put these up in full resolution. But overall, the camera quality is okay. So we have a 5 megapixel camera on the back, or on the front, and you can see that it's at the bottom of the phone. So this is actually how you would hold the phone. So the camera's down here at the bottom. Then we have a 12 megapixel camera on the back. Now that camera does shoot in 4K at 30 frames per second with optic image stabilization, so that's nice. On the front, we just have that 5 megapixel camera for selfies. Now, that one does shoot in 1080p, I should also mention that. But in terms of the camera quality, I would say this has an okay camera. It definitely does not have the best cameras out there. When you look at some indoor pictures like this one here, you can see that it definitely loses some detail. So we're trying to zoom in there on Anakin Skywalker. So Anakin's definitely a little bit blurry as we zoom in on him. Now, we kind of expect that in an indoor picture, regardless of which phone we're actually shooting this with. But overall, I would say in terms of phones I've used in 2017, this handles itself, but it certainly does not match up with phones like the HTC 11 or the Samsung Galaxy S8 or even the iPhone 8 Plus. Now, next area I want to talk about is the software. Now, you can see obviously that I am running not the stock software. I'm using Nova Launcher, and that's because for me, MIUI just isn't my personal preference. Now, there are a ton of advanced settings that you can jump into, all kinds of things that they offer within the MIUI settings. For me, it's a heavy skin on Android and just not one that I prefer. But overall, you know, I think for some people, MIUI is the way to go and it's something that they're used to. But for me personally, I had to throw on Nova Launcher just because I'm not a huge fan of the stock software that is on the Xiaomi phones. So the last area that I want to talk about is some things that this phone is missing. So what is this phone missing? Well, in terms of flagship devices in 2017, this phone does not have waterproofing. It doesn't have any kind of waterproofing whatsoever. No IP rating, not even 54 or 67 or 68 or anything like that. There is no waterproof rating for this, so you don't want to get it wet. And the second thing that it's missing, and it's pretty noticeable, is the fact that there is no headphone jack. And so what they do instead is, of course, you're going to have to place in that dongle. So it does come with a USB Type-C to 3.5 millimeter dongle. So if you want to plug in some headphones, you're going to have to use that. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with Bluetooth, which actually for me is not a big issue because I use Bluetooth on all my devices anyways. So anyways, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comment section. That's just kind of my quick overview of this device. Hopefully I've answered your questions. If there's anything that you have that I didn't answer, go ahead and leave those down in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.